Fathers and Sons covers exactly a century, from 1907 to 2007. And it starts with my grandfather Geoffrey when he was 10 years old, and his father Henry went bust. And so my great-grandfather, my grandfather's father, went up to a farm in Shropshire which was tenanted by his elder brothers and asked for help. And the deal that they struck was that the older brother, William, who ran the farm, would advance quite a lot of money to my great-grandfather to get him and his family across to Canada to emigrate. And stake money as well, so when they arrived there they'd have something to set up a business or whatever with. And the only collateral that was asked for was my grandfather, Geoffrey, who was 10. And the very secret deal was struck that Geoffrey would be left behind on this farm as the whole family went en route from Worcester to Liverpool to get the boat. And nobody knew about the deal except for Henry and his elder brother William. And that's kind of how the book goes. It takes you through this journey, through a century. Flows into my father's life, how he was beaten by his father, how that bled into my childhood, how I was beaten. And then of course, my fatherhood, my experiences of fatherhood with my stepsons, first of all, Tom and Dan, then with Jack, my son. The reason that I decided to tell this story after all this time was because I've told these stories in capsules to people most of my life. I'd never really put it all together, and I realized that actually there was a story here. There was something that would convert to a book. For me, the most emotional experience in writing the book was to actually set down in very precise detail the first time that I was beaten with a long cane by my dad. I've always been able to talk about that, but talking is different from writing it, because writing it slows down the process of remembering, you know? Everything goes into slow motion, and it's important to get the detail right, so you really do forage deep into your memory, you know, and you find yourself remembering things that you'd forgotten. The whole point of the story is to lift the lid on the way that fathers and sons relate to each other. Now, consciously, I can see why my father behaved in certain ways, why he related to his own father in such a strange way. The only person to read it in one go sitting down was my son, Jack, and his reaction was incredibly touching. I mean, really touching. He got it, you know. For Jack, reading the book was quite a revelation, and the epilogue that he then went on to write of about 2,000 words absolutely touched my heart. It was so, you know, for a young man of his age, it was so perceptive, and I have to say, beautifully written. I was very proud of him. You know, I tried really hard to make it readable, you know, because it's not just, you know, sort of an account of family secrets and a family past. It's also meant to be a good read, you know. So it wasn't a difficult book to research at all. But the process of writing was incredibly satisfying, and much more so than I expected.